Aegis II, and it's one of the most advanced weapons systems ever built. Billed by its manufacturers, Dodam of South Korea, as a total security solution, the Super Aegis is an automated turret system that supports a variety of weapons, from a standard machine gun to a surface-to-air missile. It is designed to repel an attacker from up to 3 kilometers away, using sophisticated thermal imaging software and camera systems to lock onto a human-sized target, even in the dead of night. The system requires no human presence. It's all operated robotically from a distant control room. Dodam Systems Vice President Park Sung-ho says the high-tech weapon could become an integral component in South Korea's ongoing military face-off with North Korea across the heavily armed demilitarized zone.
남북한 대치 상황도 있고 현재
We have a certain circumstance where North and South Korea are confronting each other, and currently soldiers are operating a lot of military equipment. If the job can be replaced by non-human guarding and monitoring robots, it could reduce the number of labor forces and military forces. It could also reduce human losses under real combat situations.
상황이 벌어졌을 때에 일명 손실을 줄일 수 있는.
Super Aegis II detects objects with 2 cameras, a low-light camera and a thermal imaging camera which senses body temperature. A laser rangefinder and gyroscopic stabilizer keep the weapon steady in high winds.
Super Aegis 2는
Super Aegis II is a guarding, monitoring combat robot composed of a video part and a shooting part. The video part consists of a day and night color camera, thermal camera, and a laser rangefinder which measures the distance. The shooting part consists of a section that uses the incoming image from the video part to detect the object and to destroy it.
제압하는 그런 부분으로 구성이 되어 있습니다.
It's not yet clear, though, whether the Super Aegis II will be deployed along the border. The 60-year-old armistice agreement between North and South Korea specifies limits for the weapons each side can point at one another. The supergun's presence may never be known, unless or until it starts firing. Tara Cleary, Reuters.
Hello everyone, welcome to Global Government News. Today is Tuesday, February 15th, 2011. I'm Darko. Welcome everyone to this news bulletin. Well, we'll probably be able to take about 2 videos to do it, maybe 3. I have lots of news. I'm going to cover some economy news first, and then we'll get into some other news, possibly eugenics. I usually ask my listeners to visit my website at www.ggnonline.com. That's www.ggnonline.com. And I posted this poll here about a day or 2 ago, and we have almost 30 votes now. And so far, the question is, what country will be the next to go through a regime change similar to Egypt? And so far, it looks like Tunisia is at number 1, Yemen and Pakistan are tied, and a lot of people are unsure, including myself. I'm not really sure which one's going to go next, but it's like a lot of other things. It's whatever the powers that be desire. So here we go. All the links will be posted in the video's description. This first one up is Wall Street stock slip, weakness in energy and tech. Stock slid on Tuesday as energy shares pulled back, creating a breather in the market's recent rally. And then we move to some commodities here, and we move down, and we have Brent crude is down $1.30, and is trading at $101, which is pretty dang high. And then you have natural gas, that's up almost, what, 5 cents? So, and then when we move down here, we have cotton still up $4.87, and then we move down here to gold. Gold was up $9.50. It's trading at $1,374.60 an ounce. And then we have silver. Silver was up as well at 23 cents. It's now trading at $30.76. But the big story basically was the copper. It's showing that it's now down $9.15, but it was coming off, I believe it's record high, and we'll cover that as well. Next up, we have commodity wrap. Copper touches record high. Nickel hits 2-year high. Commodity markets are seeing another day of mixed trade today, lacking conviction, despite data from China overnight showing the inflation rate in the country falling in January, helping to calm fears they will need to implement aggressive fiscal tightening measures. And we've been talking about copper, and it has been going up and up. So Here we're going to keep moving. Crude oil prices above 102 US dollars per barrel. Oil drops as dollar off lows. Then we have this from Shell. Shell report predicts peak oil now or soon, ponders depression 2.0. And it says here, peak oil is not a problem of the Earth's supplies. There's plenty of oil in a variety of forms. The difficulty is in how much energy it takes to recover and process it. And when we go down here, it says, that's not just a line from Noam Chomsky, said the second largest company in the world, Shell International, a major player in the energy commodity, is saying that too. In recent Signals and Signposts report by Shell forecasts energy scenarios through 2050. The oil giant predicted a growing volatility in the price of oil in a coming period of, quote, extraordinary opportunity or misery. So probably a lot of misery for just small-time people trying to drive their cars to work. And it'll be a time for opportunity for those that actually sell the oil, right? So U.S. economy, retail sales climbed less than forecast. Sales at retailers rose less than forecasted in January, showing it will be difficult for American consumers to sustain last quarter's pickup in spending without bigger gains in employment. And then U.S. debt now 100% of GDP. And then we have this, federal deficit on track for a record this fiscal year. Government debt to exceed the U.S. economy. U.S. retail sales rise modestly. Retail sales grew at a glacial pace last month as winter storms kept shoppers snowbound. And we have global demand for U.S. assets declined in December. Europe economy expands less than economists forecasted. Then we have U.S. home builder confidence stagnates in February on slow sales. Deutsche Boerse unveils New York Stock Exchange mega exchange deal. This is pretty big news as far as financial economic news goes. Deutsche Boerse will take over the New York Stock Exchange Euronext to create the world's largest exchange operator in a deal worth $10.2 billion. But the exchanges dodge key questions that could threaten the accord. And what are those questions? Well, here we go, right? This is what's been going on or been discussed basically for the past 3 years, ever since the bankers basically staged this little engineered collapse, right, or crisis, which was what we need more regulation. And it says here that tension could raise obstacles to regulatory approval of the deal. And so what will happen, basically you're going to have like the WTO, and they're going to have to create some kind of treaty or trade organization for it, and it'll basically call for a global body to come in there and regulate. So that's basically where everything's heading. So, and here we have, America shouldn't fear a German takeover of New York Stock Exchange. So Reuters is going to go in there and tell you everything's good to go. And then London Stock Exchange to buy Toronto Stock Exchange. So this was also news that as soon as I saw it, I wanted to make sure I went in there at least plug the headline here. You go in there and the link will be posted. You can check out this video. But so London Stock Exchange to buy Toronto Stock Exchange, and now the Germans to buy the Americans. So some big moves going on. China's inflation rises as food costs surge. So we're being told we're having conflicted stories being published here as far as their inflation going up, going down. You know, a jump in food prices pushed China's inflation higher in January, adding to pressure on Beijing to control surging living costs. And then CPI rises 4.9% in January. Inflation lingers. China's consumer price index, where inflation rose 4.9% year on year in January, despite a revision of the weighing of different products and services by the National Bureau. And let's see here. January imports surging 51%. Trade surplus trims. China's imports in January soared from a year earlier. And then we'll move on. Look at this. Volvo opens Shanghai headquarters. So nice Swedish car made in China. And McDonald's may raise prices in China, and that's not really smart, I think, because KFC is actually killing McDonald's as far as sales. I don't know why, but they like KFC over there. I read an article about that over at McDonald's. So if they're going to raise prices, they may actually go out of business. UK inflation soars to 4% in January. British annual inflation soared to 4.0% or 4% obviously in January, the highest level for more than 2 years, and compared with a rate of 3.7% in December, official data showed on Tuesday. And then we move on to this next one. Merrill King warns of inflation for the next 3 years. Mervyn King, the governor of Bank of England, has warned that inflation could remain high for the next 2 to 3 years, leading to a substantial fall in many people's real income. Eurozone finance ministers downplay inflation risk. Finance ministers of the Eurozone countries downplayed inflation risk in the European single currency. Then we have this new Eurozone fund to hold $500 billion. France wants new global financial system. Yeah, don't dump the dollar as a reserve currency. Greece reassures IMF on privatization. So Finance Minister George whatever has said Greece was committed to privatizing services to comply with terms of its international bailouts. So see, it's called receivership, IMF receivership, and the U.S. is headed that direction where basically all your municipalities are fixed up with your money, your tax dollars, and then it's sold to private companies on the cheap, and then they jack up the rates. So we have savers lose 400 pounds a year due to inflation. Savers are effectively losing 400 pounds a year due to the rising cost of living. New figures have revealed. It says here, half of workers can't afford to retire. You think that's by design? Well, it is. As austerity cuts bite in Portugal, discontent grows. So still austerity measures are taking hold in Portugal, and they're not liking them. French teachers rally against job cuts. And we have this, Klein Clark warns middle class over cuts. The middle classes are unaware of the scale of government spending cuts that will hit them this year, Justice Secretary Ken Clark has said. We move on to Press TV. Obama budget cuts devastate the poor, so that's pretty bad. Despite Republicans' demand for more cuts in the U.S. Barris-Torres fiscal 2012 budget, the White House proposed cuts are devastating to the poor, report says. That's right, they're gutting social programs, but what are they going to do? They're going to raise Homeland Security's budget. They're going to, even though they, Mr. Gates said that he got less in his budget, it was reported yesterday that they actually got an increase in the defense budget, like $600-something billion. So, and then also telecom, a cybercom, a program basically for spying on Americans mostly. That's what it's going to be used for. They got more funding, and then of course the rail lines, high-speed rail line, and whatever else. They're basically transportation, like I said yesterday, to take you to the FEMA camps. So all the other programs will be gutted, though. This programs would actually help people, right? I mean, if you're going to have it, you might as well have that stuff. But anti-cuts protests spreading across the UK, and then look at this. Wisconsin National Guard preps for worker unrest after governor unveils emergency budget. So because of these emergency budget cuts and taking away the rights for these collective bargaining protests that go on, basically they're going to call out the National Guard if need be, so they're preparing for that. Companies warn that higher prices are looming, and then we move on here. Clothing prices to rise 10% starting in the spring. U.S. Airways raises checked bag fees. And then we have food prices push more into poverty. World Bank says shocking unemployment shoots to 17.3%. New legislation would force online retailers to pay taxes. South Carolina lawmaker wants separate currency for state. Some people will get freaked out by that, but that actually is a great thing. To have your own currency, man. I mean, all of a sudden you're going to have competing currencies. And when that happens, you have basically, at least for the states that are productive, that are producing things, that are doing stuff, right? And they don't just have stagnant economies. It's going to be good for everybody, especially the people that are in that state, because they're not going to be forced to lose the value of their purchasing power, all based off what the Federal Reserve is doing. And so this could be a good thing. You have Obama proposes 5-year freeze on NASA budget, and the big thing about that is NASA, they're done. Honestly, I think NASA is just kind of a front for a lot of stuff. They are, I think, underfunded. I think they're old school, old news, and I think there's so many black programs going on, and that's where the real budget is. So, and we'll never see that budget. We just get the stupid budget. So here we go. Swipe fee cap may force fees. Job cuts bankers see. Check that out. A link will be posted talking about charging you for each debit swipe. Banks face ratings downgrade in Moody's review. Then we have U.S. investors fear muni defaults, job losses. Afghan war costs $384 million a day, says Pentagon. And Gates says Pentagon will settle for a smaller budget. Well, $384 million a day just for one country's is still kind of a lot of money there, Mr. Gates. But either way, you can join me in part 2 of this news bulletin. This is GGN, and I'm Darko. Thank you.